on achieveradio.com homepage and watch your reading live as it happens. The number to call in to the Pink Chakra Psychic Line is 888-235-7374.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
Hi, I'm Ann Marie, and you are listening to Achieve Spiritual, Holistic, and Self-Improvement Radio with George David Fryer. Yay! And he is probably about at 11 o'clock at night where you are. Is that right, George?
It is. It's just gone 11.
All right. I knew it because I remember the one time we had a time change, and we were all going crazy on that, but I think we got it down now. So today, George is going to talk about, George, you are a spiritual ascension teacher. Is this correct?
Well, that's one of the names I work with, yes.
With a cryptic sense of humor.
So I'm told, yes.
So I wanted to ask you in layman's terms, because a lot of times people that are fresh into the Achieve station don't always know what, when we speak about ascension, what comes to your mind first?
Well, simply, ascension just means rising up. And what's rising up is the energy. Your energy in your system is, well, once you start to move and clear away your old patterns, your energy vibration goes up. It's as simple as that, really.
Okay, and so when we talked about on this show trying to get out of the imprisonment of our illusions, tell me about that.
Okay. Basically, what I've done for a number of years, and it's proved very effective, is I actually show people a way with their vision of really seeing what's around them, instead of what most of us do, which is work through what I call distorted mirrors. Most of the world around you is a distortion in some form. And especially the people around you are a distortion to a degree. They have their idea of who you are, and usually, because we love them, our family, etc., they have usually a little bit of a fixed idea of who you are. But that is based through their distortion. But we actually often go along and believe that their view of us is pretty accurate. And so, in a sense, we're not always living our true self. We're living through the mirrors of other people.
Ah. So I can just so easily think of things like that. For instance, people begin to look at the illusion of where they are in a neighborhood setting, or where they are seen at their career, or where they are seen as in their family. Can we have many mirrors going on at the same time?
Oh, yes, all the time. Yeah. The family, in the family, you've got, say, take myself as an example, you'd have your partner, okay, and then you've got your children and your parents. Now, your children are going to see you in a totally different way than your parents do, or your partner does.
Yes.
Right? They and most of them, and we all do it to a degree because it seems easier and simpler. If we tend to label people, we label each other, we label ourselves as well. You know, sometimes if we do something wrong, straight away we'll say, "Oh, I'm an idiot," and well, you're creating that impression, that illusion of yourself. It's not who you really are. It's usually based on what you, how you appear to others. And we take a lot of data from other people of who we are, which is often misleading. They're distorted mirrors. And it's about trying to find the true self behind the mirrors.
So let's say as we get out of high school and we leave our school image behind us, and then we start going into our young adult stage of beauty and sexiness image, which then goes into oftentimes the parenthood and the marriage. We keep leaving these people behind us that are trying to keep us in that old image, don't we?
That's right, yes. Most people love to lock you into an image, an idea of who you are, because it's comfortable for them. They think that because if you fit that image, you're predictable. Now, the beauty is the more unpredictable we come, the less people can actually put an idealized view on us.
Do you think that this also begins to be a problem in social networking?
Oh, definitely. It's across the board. It's every aspect of our lives. There is some distortion going on until we start to look within and find who we are from within instead of looking outside at the mirrors for the answers.
Do you think that social networking has helped people to have many mirrors in a way that they don't have to ever show who they really are? I read somewhere that at one time it showed 5 people sitting on, maybe it was your site, I'm not sure, but it showed people sitting on a park bench, and all of them had little smartphones, and they were all doing their Facebooks with perfect images of themselves in perfect dress and perfect smiling faces, while they all sat in sweats and sweatshirts and looking a little fat, and
yeah.
and so I think, do you think we are getting at a point in this modern society where the illusions are beginning to be so important that we don't have to try anymore? We're just, as long as we project that perfect illusion on the internet?
Well, yes, but in a sense, what's happening now is all our illusions in the outside world are starting to fall down, actually. The mirrors are shattering to a degree, which our ideas of life are changing. Everything we knew, especially if you're a bit older, middle-aged or above, all the old ideas you came with, you look out there through the media and you'll see that they're all starting to fall apart. They're starting to be the illusion that they have always been. So what the first tendency to do then is to look for mirrors that we like and stick with them, which is what the social media can do. I mean, there's aspects of the social media that are doing the opposite. There's the divine paradox there. You've got the media, the big corporation medias are presenting all the images that we like of ourselves. But social media, Facebook, etc., now have a lot of people on there that actually are there to, they see their purpose as to expose the real truth of our society and our governments, etc. And so you've got them both on there. You've got the ones that are actually pandering to you and presenting you in this wonderful image, and then you've got the others that are actually showing you that, well, everything you've got strong beliefs in are now falling apart. So the temptation... Sorry?
Would that be the oh gosh, what do they call them? The people that are always trying to open up cans of worms. What are they called? The conspiracy people?
Yeah, well, yeah, there are quite a few out there, but there are also quite a few that are actually genuine people that are doing a lot of research and finding the truth behind the masks, so to speak. So you've got both sides, really. You've got the main medias are actually trying to maintain the happy reality, and yet on the other side you've got the conspiracy theorists which are trying to knock it down. Okay, some of them are as much an illusion as the main media. And then you've got the genuine ones in the middle, which are actually presenting a lot of truths that they feel we need to know. And the more you actually look through at all the different ways it's coming at you, you realize that you can go into confusion because you end up not believing any of them. And that is usually a time where people start to have a few problems with their psyche, because everything they see out there, they then suddenly start to distrust. So this is where the key is going within and finding the true essence of who you are. You cannot find a guarantee out there of what is real, but you can find out who you really are yourself. And in a way, this is where the mirrors come in, is that instead of believing them, if you see what they can do for you, which is actually comes on to the next part of what I was going to talk about later on, which is the symbology. Because mirrors can be symbolic as well. And if you start to learn the language of symbology, you can see through the illusions. You can get more information back on a certain area or a certain subject or whatever, but more so than just the mirrors showing you.
George, do you know, I part of the overwhelmment for me, I think right now, is that at the same time, so many, and maybe this is irrelevant to what we're talking about, but it's a concern for me, and so I'm going to talk about it.
Sure.
With so many religions like the Catholic faith and the and all of these different, and Buddhism and Christianity, all starting to come together and say, you know, maybe we can work together. It seems so difficult for me to understand why then we have to all of a sudden be slammed by the extremists who believe that their religion is out to tell us that now, as we are all trying to blend and get along and be a little more understanding of each other, this, you know, like ISO and different religions that are suddenly becoming of their extremism, holding mirrors that we are all, you know, at a horrible, horrible, evil stage in our agreement to try to get along along, and that this one is so much, and they're holding the mirror of this illusion to teenagers on the web now and stuff, that what they are, and even using lies and illusions of grandeur, and using it in a cool way to convince people. I guess I'm just, what I'm saying is that the mirrors are beginning to be so confusing anymore. Just when I think we're starting to cross the threshold of a higher vibration, all of a sudden we're being slammed into this one illusion that is terrifyingly extremist. And I don't know, what am I talking about here? Tell me what am I why am I concerned?
We're in a state of polarity with extremes at both ends. And we're looking, if you look at both ends, you will see total polarity and extremism at both ends. You can actually get, and I have actually been criticized by some light workers for saying there is the light workers that are doing amazing work. They've got what I call the fluffies at the other end, which are pandering dreams all the time. And then you've got the extremist religious groups that are going the other way and showing us hell all the time. And that we're going to hell, and the others are saying, you ask your angels and you can be in heaven. So we are, it is a part in the ascension of the planet, because remember the planet is ascending, her vibration is going up as well. That this is what happens, you get extremes. It keeps going from one extreme to another until eventually there will be a break, and then you'll move to the middle, which is the neutrality, is the center point. And if you can get into the center point within yourself, you can then see life around you. You see both extremes. You understand both extremes, but you're not pulled to one or the other. You can see, and you're not judging them either. That's the key thing, and that is difficult, because we're taught to basically to judge and work out where we are, well, our centre is, by judging the negative people and the positive people. But the key is to get into the centre, the neutrality, and become that neutral observer, and then you from the heart center. So then you don't get extremism in yourself. You don't see anybody as absolutely evil, and you don't see anybody as absolutely heavenly. You see all their qualities and all their negative traits, but you don't base your actions on the negative elements of other people or the highly positive elements of others. You choose what is the highest and most loving for you from that center point, that neutrality point. And this is where the mirrors, in a sense, have to come down, in that sense. Because while you're still making your decisions based on these illusory mirrors, the highly negative and the over positive, you have a problem deciding who you are. Well, in a sense, if you're deciding who you are outside of yourself, you're always going to have a problem. You're going to get pulled both ways. Does that make sense?
Yes, because you're doing exactly what you said before. You're trying to judge who you are through how others see you. So then the same goes for you. Yeah, right.
Yeah, but your true essence is within you, right, beyond all the idiosyncratic quirks we have and our negative beliefs and our ego, etc. We're beyond that. And in that center, we are neutral. We are totally balanced. But we have to go within to do that. But in a sense, and this is going to sound a little bit of a paradox, the mirrors can actually help you if you see them for what they are, which is symbolic rather than real. So you understanding what they mean on another level to you. rather than just the basic physical reflection back to you. Interestingly, talking about symbology, and that ties in with synchronicity. Once I sent you the information for you to promo this show, mirrors started appearing in my life in many different ways. Right? Now that is the symbology based on that first decision we had on what the program was going to be.
Okay.
Right? So
absolutely.
Even so much as a film came up on Facebook, actually, Mirror Mirror, with Julia Roberts. It's Snow White story, but they issued it a few years ago called Mirror Mirror. That came up. There's mirrors all around now. Why?
Well, and I think the show before ours had something to do with mirrors and illusions as well, and I was a little surprised by that.
Well, that is part of the synchronicity of people. If you think of it as lucky and coincidence, you're not actually reading the symbology that's in there. They're telling you something. They're actually showing you a more accurate version of what's going on. Right. Now you see, when you're worried about the extreme groups, okay, either the top end of the media, which is all tied in with government base and that, and then you've got the extreme this at the other end. Symbology is a neutral language again. And once you take the good and the bad out of it and you read it as it is, you see the gifts in there that actually you can then use in your heart center and say, all right, okay, this is leading me in a certain direction. Let's keep my eyes open for the cues and the clues, which is the symbols, which are part of the synchronicity which leads you on in the direction which is probably the highest for you. I can give you some examples if you wish, because as I'm explaining it, I'm fully aware that actually for people new to it, it sounds a bit complicated. But in a sense, it's quite simple. Everything around you that happens has many meanings to it. Okay. You choose the meaning, nobody else. If somebody else is choosing the meaning for you, you're giving your power away. I'll give you some examples, actually. I noticed a few this week. Okay, one where most people are related to is their cars.
Yes.
Right. Why are they so keen on their cars? It gets them about. Physically, it moves them about. But it's also what you call your Merkaba. It's a physical representative of your energy light body, which you move about in your dream state, etc., and in your meditations. Right? So there's a link there. So people who have car accidents, etc., all right, usually they see it as a negative thing. Now, yes, it can be on some levels.
Yes, it can be.
It can be, but other times it may not be. I'll give you an example. I was doing a show once, and a lady came into the hall onto my stand, and I'd not seen her for a while, and I just said, "You're looking a bit down in the mouth. What's up with you?" And she said, "Oh, it's been an absolute terrible week." And I said, "Why is that?" She said, "Well, I've had a car accident." I said, "Right, what's happened? And has anybody been hurt?" She said, "Oh, no. Car's been written off, but nobody's hurt." I said, "Well, you're insured, aren't you?" "Oh, yeah, I'll be getting a new car," and nobody was hurt. Yeah.
So actually it worked for her.
So actually a bit cryptic, as I'm used to doing. So that is absolutely wonderful. And before she started to aim a fist at me, I said to her, "Let me explain." Right? And she said, "Well, it'd be a good explanation because, you know, how can a car accident be wonderful?" I said, "Well, for a start, it's not a car accident. It's more a car incident." So you change that approach to that, and you take the victimhood out of it for a start. and the randomness out of it. And I said to her, that actually is quite good. I said, if you understand that your car in the physical anything in the physical relates to you in your essence some way, you can read that. And she says, well, there's nothing to read out of that, but I'm either very unlucky or somebody's out to get me or what. I says, not at all. You can take that out of it if you want, and you will actually move into victimhood, and you'll see that you've had a bad time. I said, but why not try to look at it a different way? If your car represents your energy field, right, I says, what's happened? It's been taken away from you.
Oh.
The old car has been taken away.
Yeah.
When you're in insurance, what will happen? Will you get a new car? And she said, oh, yeah. Oh, it'll be an upgraded model. I says, well, actually, what you're being shown is that your energy system has just had an upgrade.
Oh.
And any old stuff that you're carrying about yourself on that level, you've just had taken away from you, so that you're now in a fresh energy body. Right? And she said, right, oh, okay, fair enough, I understand that to a point. She says, I'll have to think about it. I said, well, go and have a look at it for yourself. And so she went off. Anyway, on that same day, I was doing a talk, and I actually brought this into. I said to her, do you mind if I actually use you as an example? She says, no, because I'll be there and I'll probably learn a bit more about it. So I was explaining this to people, and the lady in the front row put her hand up, and she says, can I interject here? I says, yes, by all means. And she says, I just want to add to what you just said. She says, a couple of months ago, I had my car written off. I said, right. And she says, and I understand, because I'm working with Symbology, exactly what you were saying. And she said, can you guess what car I bought? And I said, yes, you bought a Mercedes. And the other people said, how did you know that? Because Merc and Merkaba is your light body. So that the Mercedes represented her Merkaba. She could have got a lesser car than that, but she chose that because she says, my energy body's going up and I'm going to make it the best I can. But symbolically, I'll use something that represents the same thing. And the nearest is a Mercedes, which we call over here a Merc, which represents Merkaba. So can you see how? Okay.
I have a similar situation going on right now, George. I mean, I love gardening, and I kept acquiring more and more and more land until and I found this wonderful property that I've been paying taxes on and taking care of like a citizen, and I've been planting flowers for the children for the schools so they could go by and have a good day. And someone put their hand on my shoulder and said, Annie, do you know that they're selling this property? And this was yesterday. And I said, well, no. And so I ran to the bank and I got a loan and everything. And it was taken away from me. And I kept thinking, this was my land to represent me and represent my energy. And I went into this deep depression. And Kevin says, my husband says, you act like you just had an amputation. And I did. I felt like I was amputated. So evidently from what you're saying is that I was using the land to represent me instead, and so the land was taking my power away from me too. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And that's how I felt. And so now I can see by talking to you that I have to reclaim my power, and I have to redesign myself or refocus myself into reclaiming me again.
That's right. Yeah, you were giving your energy away to the land.
Yes.
Right. Probably there's a key there to ask yourself the question, why did you want that land? The real reason. that's probably the area you need to look at on that, is why do I've got land, why do I need more? What will it represent to me if I have this extra piece of land?
Mm-hmm.
So there's more questions you can answer. Ask yourself and take your time in finding the answer, because actually you may actually find, because you've lost that piece of land, which you haven't because you never had it, so it's not lost. Mm-hmm. It's just an idealized dream in a sense, or a wish fulfillment that hasn't fulfilled itself. There may be something bigger waiting for you on that.
Right.
And you were moving into it probably too soon.
Could have been.
So your energy system was not in alignment with the land.
Right.
There may be something. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Yes. I guess what someone else said that. Well, this must mean something that something else is around the corner that you are supposed to be doing instead. Or, well, I guess I just got. And so, do we all do this when we become too obsessed about something? Like let's say we have, okay, George, let's say we feel we have an energy or a spirit guide or something that we feel we channel specifically, very, very, very importantly. Does that also become then a representative of ourselves without us consciously realizing that we're doing that?
Well, actually, what you end up doing is giving your power away to those guides. Mm-hmm. If you're not careful. Again, the guides don't want to be fully in control of you. The guides are there to assist you making your choices. And the key to that is your choices. You take in the information, and nowadays it is very, very important to double check all your guides, because at this time there is a lot of negative entities pretending to be guides. And this again is causing the problem of, well, my guide was always so accurate, and now my guide's not. Well, it may be that there's something else coming the way. Well, you could see that as a negative, but you can also see it as a positive. It may be that your guides have stepped back. They are authentic, but they've stepped back because you've become too reliant on them. Again, the key is the power is within you, your energy source. It's for you to build your energy source, be maintaining your own energy source all the time. And again, another word that's coming up a lot lately is sovereignty. Owning your energy system and not giving it away to anybody else, which we do all the time.
Uh-huh. So, explain that.
Well, we give our energy away all the time, basically because of the mirrors and of what was called sacred geometry, which is symbols. Again, it's part of the symbology, but it's been used for thousands of years to maintain and control people and humanity in general. And it's used all over the place. Every symbol on a piece of clothing, a bank, a car, it's all part of symbols.
The alphabet, everything. Yes.
Everything, it's all done, and it's used to sell you ideas, to give you imagery. And some of it is very subtle and very deep, but that you can see that as a negative, and on one level it is. But if you're aware that they're actually using symbology, well, why can't you? Why can't you read the symbology? You can read what they're trying to tell you, but you can also read your world in symbology and know which is the highest for you in any choice you make. Right? You see, even things like there's a lot of cities, especially in Europe, etc., the older cities, to go into the city, you go through a major archway, right? And then you get the obelisks. And a lot of bank entrances are great big arches. Well, that is actually symbology. And the symbol in that is that as you enter under one, you're stating you're entering in agreement with the owners of the city. Right, now that's right. And we're doing that all the time. Now, okay, you could say, here's the neutrality comes in. That's terrible. That's really evil and wicked that they're controlling us that way. Well, yes, you could say that. But you could actually turn around and say, well, thank you. You're showing me what you're doing. I can use that same symbology and other symbology to improve my life without any manipulation of anybody else. It's for me and to understand my life better and work on it that way. Right? Every time you sign your signature, you're giving agreements to governments and banks, etc., that you believe in debt, war, and the Constitution. You're not aware of that, but it's there. Okay. Once you start to become aware of it, you can neutralize all that, because you can neutralize the agreements you're making. Over in Britain, I don't know if it applies in America, if a policeman stops you and he's asking you questions and he makes statements to you and says, do you understand? And you say, well, yes. You actually agreed that you stand underneath him.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Right. Well, you could make that statement to anybody else as well. You're actually giving your power away because the word is understand. I stand under you. Well,
interesting.
Can you see?
Yeah.
And that all the time. Now, the key is if you understand symbology, and I'm using that word in its higher text, if you recognize it, you can reply or you can act in a different way where you're not giving your power away. And this is how you become more self-empowered, because every time you give your energy away, you are physically losing energy. Right. Now, the more you become aware of these things, you can see how you can gain energy, not at anybody else's expense, but understanding the system. I'll give you another example here, which is quite tied in with this. Again, mirrors, and again, cars. Okay. Right. Okay. Have you ever had, I don't know what you call them over there, do you have rear view mirrors?
Rear view mirror, yeah.
Yeah, and you have one inside and wing mirrors. Yeah?
Yeah.
On either side of the car. Right, okay. Have you ever had any damaged?
Have I what?
Have they ever been damaged or broken?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Can you not see what that was telling you?
No.
Stop looking backwards.
I whammed it off.
Yeah.
Well, okay, symbolically.
If you drove your car looking through the rear view mirror all the time, you'd run into something. So it's saying you're not aware of the now. You keep living in the past and making your decisions on the past instead of now. It actually happened to me. I was in when I moved on to do the spiritual work, and I was driving around a lot. I knew I'd have to get a new car because the old one was really on its last legs. But I was polishing it up to sell it, and I was inside and I was polishing the windscreen, and the rear view mirror fell off. Literally fell off.
Sounds like my car.
It just fell off. And I thought, oh, here we go. I've got a client coming and the rear view mirror. So how inconvenient that. And then I suddenly started to laugh because I realized what it was saying was, you've had so many memories in this car, right? You've got to let it go. So stop living your memories of the old car and move forward. Stop living backwards and move forward. Windscreens is another one. When you get a chip in the windscreen and you have to have a new screen, but clearer vision. You're upgrading vision. You can even take it to other things like physical things. Right? I'm going to use one now. I'm not sure whether it'll upset a few people though, but it's been used. I was doing a talk at the show once, and a guy come to me, and we'd been talking about symbolism, and he said, I have a problem. He says, I have been diagnosed with bladder cancer. It's not a major problem, but I'm going to have to do something about it. And so I said to him, well, it's as simple as this. If you really want it, okay, there's more complications to it, but simply seeing it, I says, I can guarantee you have literally been pissed off half your life. And it's all big time. I says, there you are. It can't be as simple as that, right? Mm-hmm. So it works on, the other thing is a sat-nav. Okay, satellite navigation system. Now, most people don't like them. They'll use them, but they don't like them.
Right.
Okay,
well,
why? Sorry?
I totally believe that everything around us is symbolically talking to us every minute of the day. I totally believe that.
But the more you actually take notice of it, what happens is it's not usually one thing. You suddenly get clusters of them, which refine the wisdom you can take out of it.
Right.
Also, so you get 3 or 4 incidents probably around one subject, one object. They keep coming in, and instead of just taking it, oh well, that's definite confirmation. Look at the specific of the other bit of information, of the other incident. How does it differ from the first one? And what you'll see is that there's more information than you got from the first incident coming towards you. If you pick it up, if you read it. Okay.
Right.
But the key is reading it from a state of neutrality. Because if you're not in neutral, you'll go chasing that lamb that you don't need.
Right. Yeah. Well, just like you being on the show the day after I lost it, I mean, I was in a deep depression. So, this was no, coincidence either, I'm sure.
It's like the sat-nav, though, is your guidance system in your car. Right. Most people don't trust it. Most people feel, because what does it do? It gives you information minute by minute.
Right.
Right. You can work out the route at the beginning, but after that, it's guiding you minute by minute. And sometimes you think you're going in the wrong direction because you know a certain place is at a certain point on the map, but the sat-nav seems to be taking you in a different way, and you start to doubt it. That is your heart system. Your heart works like that. It gives you minute by minute. If your try is for you, if you trust your heart, you actually are in that space of neutrality and trust more. And you may get there, but it may take you on a different route, which actually gives you more information and an easier journey sometimes. You see the difference?
Would that be the same as when they say, I've always believed that the times that we analyze everything that happens or everything that comes along or every message that we're getting, the more that we analyze, the more we procrastinate and the more we keep ourselves from, kind of what they say, autopilot. When we go into autopilot, we allow ourselves to just go with the flow, another coin phrase, but going with the flow, going into autopilot is allowing the messages to take us where we're supposed to be going. And in doing so, we're going into neutrality, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You're going probably to the highest point you can.
Even if we don't like it. Even if we don't like it.
If you don't like it, then that's usually your ego.
Well, but I mean, okay, like this, George. Not everything's good. Like, I'm just for instance, and please know I'm not trying to be negative, but there are
Oh,
instances where, like, I think about the people praying in the synagogue yesterday that got butchered by the ISO people, right? I think about the fact that here were these people in the meditation state of prayer, and yet, you know, where did I guess I find myself wondering what was the meaning of that? Why did those people follow their messages? Did they follow? Do you understand what I'm saying? What happens when that happens?
it is very difficult when there's major things happen like that. But from my information, from originally from guides, etc., and from higher beings, some of those souls chose to go at that time.
Can I
Right?
ask you?
They could be going as a marker, in a sense. They didn't probably intend to be a martyr, but because of the shock of the situation, it may actually give people a bigger realization there's something got to change in the world, because this kind of brutality can't go on. And it helps people to say more and more no. Now, the actual event can be seen as very evil and negative, but on some occasions, I've spoken to souls who've passed over, who've chosen those occasions to go to make a statement to help people move on beyond the insanity of what happens on the earth plane. That is very hard for us as individuals to understand many times. But I have seen that on a number of occasions with the souls that have, from certain incidents, that have actually come back and actually said it was their highest choice to leave at that time in that particular way. Now, we wouldn't choose that ourselves on the physical level, but our higher self, knowing that it's actually not losing everything, it's just losing this physicality in this time.
Right.
They understand that. They understand it, and are quite willing to do that. Now, you try and tell that to the relatives, etc., and they'll be getting very angry with people like me who I'm saying what I'm saying. But I can only go from the information I've got from other side. About a lot of incidents like that actually those souls have chosen.
George, I don't know if you still keep up with Bashar.
Oh yes, yeah.
But his last I was surprised when I saw his last event was called Angels and Demons.
I've not seen that one. I can't.
And it was supposed to discuss how the two extremes are always around us, but at the same time, I'm wondering if the whole situation was about neutrality. The sense that we are always surrounded by, as we just said, you follow, go on autopilot, go into following the symbolic messages around you. And sometimes you said you also have to be careful that sometimes those messages, or sometimes who we think we're channeling, we need to be careful sometimes that we are. And so I'm wondering if maybe, because he's not, I can't imagine it would be anything other than that what it was basically saying was in sync with what you are. The mirrors of the angels and the demons are always around us, and we have to drive that car following the symbolic neutrality, as you said.
Well, you see, you're on a planet of polarity, and it's about choices, one or the other, and you have choices all the time to make on that.
Yes.
Right. Now, you can choose to be angry about seeing something like that, or you can choose a higher version of the love that you are from the neutrality, and you may actually understand more about it. It is difficult. I'm not saying it's easy, and it's less easy if you've not found the neutrality within yourself about yourself, because this applies first and foremost to yourself. You cannot judge anybody outside yourself if you're full of hatred and anger within, because obviously you'll project that outwards. So it's working on the self. It's seeing everything as a tool for you to work on yourself and find a much bigger picture of what's going on. Because we always get the information we get anyway for these situations is only a little snapshot of what the media want you to see. So you don't know the full story. But you can actually, as long as you're doing it from the highest, and you're very specific in where you're sending your love, and I mean specific, not generally, because if you're generally giving it out there, it is being used by the very people you don't want to use it.
Right.
It's very specific in sending your love to the source that you want it to go to. Okay, so there's that to do. It's also being aware that actually your energy is being taken away from you all the time, as I've mentioned earlier. Right, okay. But you're also losing energy from all the past lives and contracts and promises you've made to everybody.
I love your theory once that you said we've all been in every phase of life. We've all been a minister. We've all been a rapist. We've all been starving. We've all been rich, and that there's different the contracts, so to say, that you were talking about.
Yeah. Well, you've got past life contracts. You've got contracts in all forms. If they're past lives, and this is important as we come into this time now, because we're moving beyond and we're trying to reclaim who we are, trying to find who we are. Every past life with your ancestors' connections as well, where they have given their lives away for a cause, has been passed down through you, to you. All right? So you can start by rescinding or revoking past life contracts is another area. The key being is you're trying to get back to the neutrality and the sovereignty of who you are as an individual. And it is important that to find that out, your past lives contracts, the contracts you make all the time, the agreements, like I said before about the I understand, it may sound trivial, but you're actually giving energy away. And the key is now to actually find every area in your life where you're giving your energy away to an illusion, to a mirror, to a company, to a country, to your ancestors, that you actually now start to understand energy and how that energy is sovereign energy to you. Everybody else has the right to a sovereign energy source. Very few of us are actually using our own energy source without giving it away or having it taken away by other people. This is where you start to understand the symbolism, and where the symbolism shows you that you're giving energy away, you start to look at ways that you can actually reclaim back the energy you've given out. The key is in neutrality is energy out, energy in equal balance. Now, very few of us are in equal balance. We're giving our energy away to causes, to radio programs like this, in a sense, television. People are watching, listen, their energy's there, right? The key is to make sure that when you do anything, you reclaim your energy back. And probably, if you wanted to go into it in a bit more depth, we could do another show sometime, but that would be to do more with revocations, revoking all the agreements we've made in this life and in past lives with lovers, mothers, husbands, etc., that actually don't actually are not for now. We've done them, they're finished, back to the past lives and looking behind you all the time. If you're still thinking of somebody in a childhood, you're giving energy to that person still. You may have promised it. Many lives in past lives, we had what they call blood contracts, blood brothers. People shared their blood between each other.
Sure.
Those are still running. If you've not cancelled them, they're still running. So you cannot, this is how you cannot get into full neutrality until you've released all the threads and cords from your past, which are running with you.
Okay,
Sorry?
well, George, that's the end of our show, and I want to thank you so much for being with us.
Thank
we'll
you.
Get that yes, bye.
Bye.
You're listening to AchieveRadio.com. The future is now.